Hello.
Sorry, I can't see you. I got it. I still can't see you, but I hear you look great in that mask.
You can't see me?
And my echolocation says you look great in that mask. Oh, you're
stupid. I hate you.
3D printed that?
Yeah, don't judge it too much.
Nice.
It's not welded together, it's not painted. And it's a bit big, but hey.
Looks as good as Melvin would make, yeah. So, hello interwebs, and welcome to Close Up. I'm your co-host, Joe.
And I'm Ryan.
Apologies to our audio listeners. Just watch YouTube if you want to know what that's about. So, today, Ryan and I are talking about the long-since defunct Netflix Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, let's zoom into our medium shot here and get on with that a bit. Just so you know, full spoilers for all these shows ahead. They ended like 5 years ago, but you've been warned.
Yeah.
So, what's your history with these Marvel Netflix shows?
I remember not watching them until, I believe, Daredevil Season 2 was coming out. I wasn't that big into the characters that were being produced onto the Netflix shows at the time. But again, you just hear the talk around school, you hear the hype, and you're like, okay, I'll give it a shot. Fell in love immediately with Daredevil right away. Finished off Season 1 and 2 probably back to back, and then I went on to Jessica Jones, because that was also at the time. Because around the time, there was a big debate on which show was better. Was it Daredevil or Jessica Jones? I remember that, talking about that, and some people said Jessica Jones, some people said Daredevil.
Time would decide.
That was fun for a while. Yeah, very difficult to decide at the time. And then now, or later on, Luke Cage came out, and then I stuck with the whole universe until Season 3 of Daredevil, Season 2 of The Punisher, which I think was the last, or I can't remember what was the last thing, either Season 2 of Punisher or Season 3 of Jessica Jones.
So you were like right near the end.
The only two seasons I haven't seen for all of them would be Luke Cage Season 2 and then Iron Fist Season 2. Those are the only ones I haven't seen.
Yeah,
but I know what happens.
Yeah. Well, I jumped on board the Marvel Netflix train pretty much right away. I can't remember offhand how big a fan of Daredevil I was going in. I know I was already pretty enamored with the idea of this superhero, so I was super excited to see this show already, and I thought it delivered in spades. This was, at the time, my favorite thing Marvel had done on, Captain America: The First Avenger is still my favorite Marvel movie, but at the time, it was still neck and neck with one of my favorite things Marvel had ever done in their adaptations, and it still arguably might be. Like, Captain America is my favorite movie, but Daredevil's one of my all-time favorite shows. Like, I think it's in top 5 on my list right now. So, they made a smashing impression on me right away. And we're going to talk about how our opinions changed over time, kind of run through the shows one by one here, gauging our reactions and this is how I felt as it went. But suffice it to say, I haven't seen all these shows either. I actually stuck it out quite far. The only one I never saw was Iron Fist Season 2, which that shouldn't be a shocker to most people, even though I heard Iron Fist Season 2 was quite a step up over the first one in many ways. But maybe one day I will get around to that. Are they on Disney Plus? I don't even remember.
Yeah, they all moved over to Disney Plus. All of them.
Okay. Yeah. I'm shocked they let something like The Punisher on Disney Plus, but or even any of them, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, they own the rights, right? Part of the legacy or whatever it's called.
Use it or lose it, right?
Yeah.
So, let's get into our close-up and talk about these. Right up front, before we get into it, I've got a bone to pick with you, Justin, because we were talking earlier.
Me for a second. Oh, God.
Oh, not you. Not yet. But I'm a bit riled up because, I was arguing with Justin earlier about Daredevil and how he doesn't like the show at all. He gave it...
What?
Yeah. Uh-huh. He gave it 5 episodes back in high school in grade 11, and then dropped out halfway through season 1 because
I remember him talking about this.
Because it was too boring. And that infuriates me 8 years on, just like it did back then, which is why we haven't talked about it in 8 years, because he pissed me off so badly back in high school that I haven't even wanted to talk to him about the show since, until today. And then he bothered me again. So now I gotta, I gotta talk to this show, talk to you about this show, just to, get the hype going a little bit, because it's, And look, you know what? That's my segue to acknowledge here that I understand why a lot of people didn't like these shows at the time. They were, on the whole, slow burn, dragged out more than they needed to, most seasons of them. Most of them did not need 13 episodes to tell their stories. They were pretty cinematically pretty dark and joyless a lot of times, and like, I get why a lot of people found them slow or boring or were not interested in them. Do not mistake that for poor quality. In every case, mind you, I'd still take all these over the mediocre, soulless garbage Disney Plus is churning out now. These shows at least had some passion and care and put in behind them, from the character work, the cinematography, the character arcs, the production design. Just, there's a lot of intention and passion behind these shows that the Disney Plus stuff isn't replicating. So, these shows clearly have their flaws, which we're going to get into, but I just want to say up front, I know they're not for everybody. I understand the criticisms that basically apply to them all, but I don't care, because especially with some nostalgia goggles and a bit of time to look back and see what the MCU's become, these look like masterpieces now compared to what we're getting on average now. So that's part of the reason we wanted to go back and revisit them, to be like, hey, remember when Marvel
the glory
TV
days.
Yeah, remember when Marvel TV was actually worth watching most of the time? Once again, not every one of these seasons is a hit, but
no.
You know what? I'll say it. I'll take
Luke Cage over anything that Disney Plus has done.
I'll take Luke Cage over The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I'll take Jessica Jones over Loki.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take Iron Fist over Moon Knight for supernatural stuff.
Thank you.
You know what? I'm a man of some taste. I know my limits.
Disney Plus can have one great one, okay?
You get Moon Knight and Wanda. Everybody else.
Yes. No.
Everybody else. Let's watch the Netflix stuff. Anyway, kicking things off all the way back to 2015 here. Daredevil season 1.
What a time to be alive.
Yeah. The Man in Black descends on Hell's Kitchen and changes Marvel TV and kind of just TV in general. I mean, keeping in mind here, at the time, really, the only competition in the gritty superhero market back in this time was Arrow. And even Arrow was moving away from the grittiness by this point in its life. So in 2015, Daredevil was the darkest, most adult superhero show on television. I mean, every other one is like that now. But the market was this was it back then in terms of adult superhero content. Just for that context, right? And, even me back in high school, I'm not really into super edgy superheroes by any means. That's what I love about Daredevil, is that he can be, he's a relatively well-adjusted guy, all things considered. He's got his dark past. He's got a lot of Catholic guilt bubbling up inside him. He's got a lot of traumas, but the joy he shows is real. Matt Murdock whenever he's being friendly with people, he's not putting up a front. He is just a guy who likes cracking jokes and maybe screwing with people sometimes, and or flirting. He's a great
guy.
Yeah, or flirting with girls or messing around with Foggy or whatever.
I've never seen a blind man have more game in my life than on this show.
Yeah, Foggy, you mentioned that pretty early on. He's like, how do you do it? Because he's Charlie Cox.
It's and I love how they never answer.
Yeah.
It's how does he do it?
Although I did see a clip recently which reminded me how he he does kind of use the blindness to his advantage sometimes.
Yeah.
Kind of get that like sympathy sort of thing. There was one clip that I saw where he was at a party in season 2, and he bumped. We're skipping ahead a bit, but he bumped into this one guy. Spilled his wine all over the guy's jacket, and the guy's like, "Watch where you're going." Noticed he was blind. Oh, sorry, did I spill anything? Nah, you're good.
I remember you talking about, and like the guy wants to get mad, but he's like, "Fuck."
Yeah. It's like, oh, it's a blind guy. Huh? Like, I know I'm a villain, but how bad am I going to look if I attack a blind guy? I'm not going to yell at a
blind guy.
Yeah.
I have something of a reputation, sort of.
But anyway, Matt Murdock is just a charming fellow.
Mm-hmm.
And is it the very first scene that he's confessing to Father Lantom?
Ooh. It's been a while since I've seen the first season, but it's probably one of the first few scenes.
I think that's like scene 1.
Yeah.
So go back. I'm just getting the script up now so I can tell you what we were introduced to, just how amazing this dialogue is here. So just the opening lines. "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. It's been too long since my last confession. My dad used to come to this church back when I was a kid. He was a fighter, old school, boxer. Lost more than he won. Had a 24-31 record before but he could take a punch. Jesus, he could take a punch. Language. Sorry, Father." And then he kept going. But then he ends up with that awesome trailer line. The father's like, "Well, but you understand it now? Perhaps this would be easier if you tell me what you've done. I'm not seeking penance for what I've done, Father. I'm asking forgiveness for what I'm about to do." Badass.
You say 20... Great dialogue. Just right off the get-go. You said 24-31 boxing record?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty shit.
But
I'm going to say
10. He could take a punch.
I'm going to say 10 of those losses are dives. I'm going to say at least. So, who knows how good of a boxer he could have been.
Jack Murdock dived until he didn't, and then he was killed for that.
Oh, wow. Nice. I like that. That was poetic.
Yep.
We never see the mother, right? She's like she's only mentioned, but she like abandoned.
We do see the mother. Actually, she was the nun in season 3.
Right.
She abandoned them to become a nun.
I completely forgot about that plot point.
Yeah, that's like his main supporting figure in season 3, and he doesn't even know she's his mother first. But we'll get to that by season 3 because that's like
who did it better, Daredevil or Sopranos?
For the mother?
For the nun mother.
Well, I remember this more.
Yeah.
But Sopranos is pretty good too. For that story, I'm not going to spoil it because it's not about Sopranos. But yeah,
she was a whore.
If you know, you know. If you know, you know. So yeah, we got a great introduction to Matt Murdock. He's this guy full of Catholic guilt, who's gonna bring the yeah. I just love the very core of what Daredevil is, and I know this wasn't the original Stan Lee creation, but this is more of a Frank Miller take on Daredevil. How he pivoted Matt Murdock to be this guy who uses his Catholic guilt to dress up like the devil at night and punish sinners in Hell's Kitchen under the vengeance of God. It's so epic in scope, and he's also, also the symbolism of like justice is blind, and he fights. He fights in the streets at night for justice, and he fights for justice in the day as a defense attorney. Like, justice is his whole shtick.
The duality of that
awesome.
Is brilliant. I love the duality of that. And it's just done so well, and I don't think this show would have worked as well as it did if it wasn't Charlie Cox. Charlie Cox in this role, the way he's able to... It's kind of a weird take because this is Marvel's version of Bruce Wayne to me, where he has this
without money.
persona.
He's Bruce Wayne without money.
Yeah, exactly. He has this persona of this somewhat cocky guy who is great at his job. He has this ideal, but his real identity is Daredevil. And it's eating at him. It's destroying him. It consumes him in a lot of the times in his life. but he has to embrace it or else he will go absolutely insane. And the way Charlie Cox is able to play both sides of Matt Murdock, to me, is probably one of the greatest Marvel performances of all time. And I don't think it gets talked about enough.
Let's not even talk about the duality. Let's just talk about how he convincingly played a blind man. Just playing the character, not even the emotions of the character or anything. Like that's a whole other layer, which, let's be honest,
he played
amazing.
It so well he tricked himself. There's been times where he's said that he's in real life he has been staring off into space, or he's had his eyes be super steady because he's just done it for so many years just in regular life.
There is one story I heard.
He's been able to do it so well that.
There's one story I heard where he actively bombed an audition for something because he couldn't stop staring off, like, into the middle distance, and the people are like, "You know, you're doing that, right?" He's like, "What? Oh crap! I'm still doing that unconsciously." It was really hard for him to get out of. But just as impressive as Charlie Cox this season, Vincent freaking D'Onofrio.
Oh,
Wilson Fisk.
So good.
He's
so underrated.
In 1 year, he solidified himself as the best villain the MCU ever put to screen. So, and then they just kept bringing him back.
And again, it's not this over the top cliche introduction like here's the villain beating up the guy. It's him looking at a painting in an art exhibit. Yeah, in this fancy suit, trying to talk to this girl, but he can't because he's got so much anxiety. Yeah, this is what it's great about these shows, is that it really humanizes these superhero and supervillains from these comic books, and it makes you identify with each character. He's a
very complex character because, you know, you see he was abused as a child and he killed his father, and I don't remember when you find out that he beat his father to death with a hammer.
I think like episode 8 or 9, something like that.
So that's in season 1, and you know he's got the social anxiety, can't talk to girls. But he's pretty civilized in many ways. He wears nice suits. He talks, he speaks well. He's an educated man, clearly knows about fine art, and he's got a pretty classy air about him. And, you know, you could see yourself having a good conversation with this guy. Don't get him angry, though, because that's when all his childhood insecurities and everything comes out, and he looks like a kid having a temper tantrum. Except he's powerful enough to slam your head off in a car door.
Not slam it off, just completely demolish
decapitate him.
It doesn't exist anymore. When I saw that, watching it like in high school, being like, oh, Marvel can do this? Great. And then they never do it again.
For a couple years.
Yeah. Don't really do it afterwards, but...
the Marvel Netflix shows is where that stopped. Whenever Jessica Jones season 3 was done, that was it. And then they were like, Moon Knight's going to be violent. It wasn't.
Yeah. It was violent without the blood. That's what it was.
It was a neutered version of this. If you want to see Marvel go like this is... We were just talking about Invincible in the last episode, about the violence of superhero shows. Watch the Marvel Netflix stuff if you really want violent superhero shows in live action, because these are some of the most brutal. And we goes all the way back to Daredevil season 1. Let's talk about Karen a bit. I thought she was a fantastic introduction here, just as, like, she got, what was it? She was framed for murder, right?
Framed for murdering her boyfriend,
Yeah,
I think it was episode 1, too, yeah.
Yeah, that's what sets the whole thing in motion, is that Matt finds out she's innocent and decides to defend her as Nelson and Murdoch.
Mm-hmm. And it's a great kind of introduction scene for both them as a duo, where it's like, how long have you guys been practicing law? And he's like, what time is it? And it's just 6 o'clock. Yeah. About 3.5 hours.
Well, somebody's got to do it, right?
Yeah.
My favorite Karen moment at the end here is, well, I do remember she warmed up to that reporter, Ben Urich, who Wilson Fisk brutally killed at the end of the season. I nearly forgot about that.
Poor Ben.
Oh, crap, that was a good twist. He got too close, and Fisk just murdered him in his apartment. But what I was
you don't think he is for a second, and then he's like, but I'm not here to do that. I'm here to kill you. And then just lunges at him. And you're like, fuck.
And I also like how Karen starts the show being falsely accused of murder, and then ends up straight up killing Fisk's right-hand man.
Yeah.
She kills Wesley.
That was one of those things where I'm not going to spoil what happens, but it's kind of another Sopranos.
Oh, Sopranos.
It's another Sopranos callback where you expect, like, you've seen this situation hundreds of times. You know the hero's going to come and save them, but it's like, no, the woman's going to murder the guy that captured her. So you're just like, oh, interesting. Okay, I'm down with that. Wesley was an annoying character, but it was interesting. But to see him gone like that, wow, okay, this show's got balls.
Well, that's what also
I wasn't mad about it. I was like, wow, that's awesome.
That's what also made Fisk's character more interesting later, because Wesley was one of the few people he actually cared about, who actually he could actually trust. He was like the Smithers to his Mr. Burns. It's like, what are you going to do after Wesley's gone? You just killed the only guy I can trust. So Fisk just becomes more paranoid, more brutal. Karen saved herself, but made it way worse.
Yeah. Another great side character that people shout on a lot at the time. I really liked Foggy. I don't know why people like crapped on Foggy so much. Maybe because he was too jokey, but I thought
Foggy got
I'm pretty
better
sure it's episode 7
as it went.
When he finds out who Matt is, like Matt's Daredevil. I think that's a really great episode.
Yeah.
It shows their backstory.
Yeah, that one.
But then it's in his apartment of them fighting, like, how can you do this? How can you not trust me? Like, we're supposed to be lawyers and all this. And you see, again, it's another great performance by Charlie Cox, where he's putting out so much emotion, but he can't move his eyeballs. And he just does it so well. And credit to the actor who plays Foggy as well, who, by the way, he's been in, like, a lot of stuff. Back, even as a child actor, he was in The Mighty Ducks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he played, Fogel or whatever. He was the guy who was like, I can't skate. But
Eldon Henson is his name.
Yeah, Eldon Henson. I think he's really good. Also, if anybody remembers, any 2000s kid, the Freak in the Mighty book, he's in the movie adaptation for that. He plays Freak. Or, sorry, The Mighty. Whatever. It's a really good movie. Okay. It was the movie that came out before The Sopranos, and James Gandolfini's in it, and he does a really good job. Just found out recently that James Gandolfini was in that movie, and it blew my fucking mind. And he does phenomenal in it. That was before James Gandolfini was James Gandolfini, but you could see early hints of his greatness. But anyway, I think, I could see why people were mad about him, but he added some light to this otherwise dark show, and I honestly liked his jokes. I would love to have Foggy as a friend.
Foggy was good comedic relief. I think if I remember, the problem with him was
he got more annoying to me.
He kind of became one note after he found out Matt was Daredevil, and he just latched onto that really hard for the rest of the season. And then he chilled out about it in season 2. Season 2 gave him, well, we'll get to season 2, but he had a more believable conflict with Matt in season 2 when Matt let his Daredevil duties interfere with his lawyering, and it actually started getting in problems with their own business. But in season 1, it was more, he was, mad that he wasn't told the truth, which I get, but I get why it wore thin. So yeah, and then as season 1 goes, he becomes more and more Daredevil-like. The man in black becomes the devil of Hell's Kitchen, and then he finally gets the costume, fights Fisk one-on-one in the alleyway. Stand up and cheer kind of moment. Fantastic.
Don't forget, what is it, episode 1 or 2, the hallway fight scene.
Oh my lord.
One of the best.
The choreography
An actual
on this show.
true oneer. That's a true oneer.
Yes. And my favorite thing about that scene in terms of action is not the oneer, it's not the great choreography. It's the way the bad guys, when he knocks them down, they get back up.
Yeah.
They get exhausted.
He's exhausted.
They're like Charlie Cox and Matt Murdock gets exhausted throughout the fight. He takes a lot of hits. The bad guys get back up. It's not like everything else ever where you take the henchmen down and they're just knocked out for some reason after that's it. All the bad guys go after him at once. It's not just a one at a time kind of thing. And then it feels like an actual drawn out fight and you're just watching it as a oneer. It's so well done. And if you weren't sucked into the show by then, Justin, I don't know what to tell you.
I'm actually going to fight Justin on Sunday. I hope you know this. I've been waiting. I've had 12 reasons, and this is my 13th. All right?
You know what? Don't blame me if I don't wait.
I'm sure you've had like 52 reasons to fight. Anyway.
I got 10 years worth of reasons to fight him. But every day with this man. I'm not going to wade into this because I've already had this argument with him. He's stubborn. He's not going to change his mind. He decided 8 years ago in high school it was boring, and he's never given it a shot since. It's not. He's more
stubborn than you, and you make a beautiful couple.
Yeah. Everybody thinks we're a couple anyway, but we basically are, minus the romance. But
Aw. That's sad.
So
anyway.
Anyway, I had to transition out of that. Season 1.
Go to therapy? I don't know.
Yeah.
Go to couples counseling.
Yeah. At this point, our boss is just our mediator.
Oh well, that's free mediating. Anyway.
Yeah.
What are we talking about now?
Love you, Justin. Daredevil season 1. I think
the nurse.
We're basically done with Claire. How can we forget about freaking Claire?
She's in every fucking show.
She's the glue that binds this whole. Yes, she's the glue that binds this whole thing together. Without Claire, the Defenders fall apart from episode 2 of Daredevil.
And she gets around more than Matt Murdock. Well, yeah. That's not true. She gets with 2 people, but they're major characters.
Yeah. She gets with Luke Cage and who's the other one? You said 2 people. Oh, Matt. They didn't really.
It was like a season 1 thing. They kissed.
Yeah, there was kind of a will they won't they thing there.
Yeah.
But I like Claire because it showed superheroes could be vulnerable. I don't think Marvel in 2015 had never really had a point where a superhero might actually die and need serious medical attention right now. Of course, we're not counting the first act of Iron Man, where that was the thing where Tony Stark survived.
That was before he was a superhero.
But I'm talking deeper into it, not act 1 of the universe. Anyway, so Claire was pretty integral. Rosario Dawson, this is the first thing I ever saw her, and she was great in it.
Yeah.
Made a pretty solid impression right away. But what I also like about season 1 is Matt's ethics. That whole season 2 hallway fight was just to save a kid from being trafficked. And, him versus Fisk in the corruption, the cops are bought off and regular old justice in the courts isn't going to do it. So you need that street level hero who's fighting for the little guy, even though nobody knows who he is. Even the good cops don't like him because he's a vigilante, which, the Avengers are okay because they freaking saved New York. But Daredevil, it's okay, who's this guy in a costume?
Yeah. You know what's really funny? When they talk about the Avengers movie events in those shows, they always called it the incident.
Yes.
And to me, they never specifically said aliens came. They always called it the incident. And I always felt like that was a legal thing that they had to say, where they couldn't straight up just say, hey, aliens came to the planet, remember that? No, they just had to call it the incident.
The closest thing, I think, there was a picture in Ben Urich's office with a newspaper clipping of the incident, and I think you see a Chitauri ship in the picture.
Yeah.
That's about as much as...
outwardly say it, yeah.
I think they said Thor's name in the first season, or Iron Man, or they referenced one of the Avengers.
The hammer.
Yeah, they referenced one of the Avengers in season 1. And I think Jessica Jones season 3 mentioned that half the Avengers were locked up in the raft after Civil War. They made some vague allusion to that.
Yeah.
But the timeline has always been the Netflix shows have very much been doing their own thing. Yeah. And that was one of the most annoying things, is that Marvel promised these shows would interconnect. And in Daredevil season 1, it's it's pretty loose, but they might still. They never did. Then the closest we ever got to connection was Charlie Cox showing up in No Way Home for a 1-scene cameo, and that's the most legitimacy this show ever got. In the mainstream.
God, how cool it wouldn't have made sense, on how they would have got there, but how cool it would have been if they were all in Endgame. That would have been so cool.
Would have been amazing. If they were just in the crowd. I didn't need to see them all get a moment, even if they were just there. somehow. But I guess these are just
Man.
like street level New York.
Funny
heroes.
you bring up No Way Home, just since you brought it up. Charlie Cox talked about in an interview how the way he was directed to act was really weird to him, because how he would have done it was he would have put the cane down and started talking.
Yeah.
But the director specifically told him, slam the cane down, wait for the camera to come on onto your face, and then start speaking, because we're anticipating a crowd reaction. And he thought that was really strange. But that is how people react.
Most of No Way Home was filmed that way, which is why it's kind of weird
Yeah.
on rewatch, because you can tell the moments they're
When
waiting
you're
for
by
the
yourself.
applause. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, and here's where I would have applauded a year ago.
But
I saw
also,
that
they
in
were
theaters.
right to do that. If you,
But
if
also,
you look
I don't.
up reactions.
But I don't know how many people in my theater knew. Funny, I feel like I was the
Oh,
only
Charlie
one
Cox?
there who. I feel like I was the only one there who knew who that was.
I had a few gasps. I was like, and then I told you when I was walking out, there was a son explaining who that character was to his two parents. It was really funny.
I had to lean
I
over
wanted
to
to
my
chime
mom.
in. I wanted to chime in for a second, but he was nailing it.
Yeah.
He was explaining it so well.
I remember, like,
So shout out to that guy.
I had to lean over to my mom and be like, "That's Daredevil. He's my favorite."
I've tried to convince my brother to watch those shows for the longest time. He's like, well, where are they? I'm like, for the last 5 years, they've been on Netflix. He's like, well, I can't find them now. I was like, because they went to Disney. How many times I have to tell you?
They're on Disney now, yeah. Moving on to Jessica Jones season 1. Like you said, back at the time, it was between Daredevil season 1, Jessica Jones season 1, Marvel was nailing it. It's like, well, what was better? We're comparing apples and oranges here. 2 great seasons of Marvel TV. It was like wow, this Marvel Netflix thing could be amazing if every season's like these two. This is like 2 of the best things Marvel's ever done. And this one
Also, Kristen Ritter. Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect fucking casting choice again.
I don't think I really knew who she was before. The only other role I've really seen her in was Breaking Bad, and I think I watched Breaking Bad after this. Like within the
I know she was in like a random movie. I think it was called The Bee in Apartment 23. Like that's
that
the
was a
only
show.
and it
That
was
was
like
a show.
Was it a show? Oh.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I think and I only remember cuz I heard about her. I heard her talk about it on a podcast. It was what's his name? Michael Rosenberg. Rosenberg. Yeah. Yeah, it's on his, I think that's his name. It was on his podcast.
Gotcha.
I think the show is like Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23.
That's what it is, yes.
Yeah. I haven't seen that.
She doesn't do much now. She doesn't do much now except cameo as Jane in flashbacks. Sorry. It's true. That's the last thing I've seen her in is the El Camino movie.
Yeah. Well, maybe they'll bring her back. Anyway.
Maybe she's rolling in it. I don't know.
Jessica Jones season 1. Well, I know which side of the camp I was on. I was definitely in Daredevil camp at the time.
Yeah.
Although I did
this
have
one's
to.
so close, though. It's so close.
I had to appreciate. I feel like it's a little bit more cathartic this year, though. I mean, like, we're going to get to Daredevil.
It's apples and oranges.
Yeah. Like,
it's two different vibes.
Daredevil season 3 is super cathartic, but Jessica Jones season 1 like gave Jessica that kind of catharsis way earlier, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like her whole story with Kilgrave. And I think it was a very interesting series at the time too, because this is a pre #MeToo show, which is kind of weird to think how progressive it was at the time, really, about exploring female trauma after abusive relationships and, you know, having to not just feel good about herself after being forced to kill somebody and be at this guy's whim for so long, but she like drowns her sorrows in alcohol and sex and just can't ever really feel good about herself after this, but she still tries to help people how she can. Mm-hmm. And it's all about her kind of realizing it wasn't her fault and he doesn't control me anymore and I can make my own path for how I'm choosing. The themes were very strong in the show, and like Kristen Ritter was fantastic as this character, and you know, mirrored by an equally impressive performance. David Tennant as
Tennant.
Kilgrave. Another one of the all-time MCU great villains,
So
even though he
good.
was only in for one season. And he has the coolest power.
Great? Yeah. What's so great about him is the way he plays Kilgrave, where he fully believes that Jessica was in love with him, even though he has the power to manipulate people at will just by the words he says. He fully believes they've had this relationship, and he, in a way, manipulates himself into believing that. And you can tell just by, even at the end of the season when he says, now smile, and she smiles, he literally almost breaks down because he's like, oh my god, like, we're finally back together. And it's just, I do think, I can't say which one's better because it's two different performances. I think Chris Ritter knocked it out of the park, but I also think David Tennant knocked it out of the park as well. Where it's, you can see this villain have obviously fucked up emotions and manipulating everyone around him, but he fully believes his narcissistic persona. And I think David Tennant knocked it out of the park.
You're reminding me vaguely of one of my favorite episodes of that year, which I haven't thought about in years, mind you, till just now, was the one where they teamed up for one episode.
Team up, yep.
Where I think they were investigating a crime together or something, and it nearly seemed like he had redemptive qualities for a little bit, or she was stringing it along just long enough. Mm-hmm. But his power is freaking amazing, though. Just do what I tell you, and then you have to do it. Just mind control.
Yeah.
It's like, yep, just
does it so well.
Why don't you kill yourself? Yep. And then they just do it. Mm-hmm. Which I think there was a suicide scene like that, actually, with the girl who had to slit her throat with the glass.
Yeah, I believe so.
Or in the cops. Remember when like they were in the police station and he made all the cops shoot each other?
That was his first. That was his first introduction.
Yeah,
where he tells all the cops to point the guns at Jessica, and then he walks in. You're like, oh fuck.
Yeah. Did he make them shoot each other, or was he just threatening it? I don't remember.
He was just threatening it, like point the guns at each other. Yeah. But I think he also made his dad kill himself too.
Right.
Or maybe it was the mom. I can't remember. It's been a while.
I think
it's been a while.
I want to say they killed each other with scissors.
Yeah.
It's flat. I'm getting a bell of like an old person with scissors.
Yeah. I'm getting a mental picture of like his dad putting his hand in the blender. I'm getting that as well.
Yeah, he tortured his parents. Yeah.
Which, valid for what they did to him.
I don't even remember what they did to him now.
Well, they created his powers by like mentally torturing him.
Other scientists, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, that tracks. I never liked Trish.
No.
She was always somebody you're supposed to sympathize with, like former child star with that, like addiction issues, had a terrible mother who forced her into showbiz, and she
got more annoying as the seasons went on. I'll agree.
She's the horror story of all child actors, but I don't know, never gelled with her personally. Mm-hmm. Always I loved everybody else really. There was that character Will, I think his name was, who mostly had that relationship with Trish.
Yeah.
No, that's Malcolm. Will was the I just watched a recap of all these recently.
The ex-soldier.
Yeah, the guy who was taking like super pills.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember him being okay as well. I guess he's kind of a proto John Walker sort of thing.
Yeah, he was kind of forgotten after season 1. Was he arrested or something? I don't even remember.
I think he died. Or maybe he was arrested. I don't even remember. This was like 8 years ago. We're stretching our memories.
I remember Luke Cage was introduced in the show.
Yes, he was.
That was really cool.
I really liked I think in the comics Luke Cage and Jessica Jones are a couple.
They're a couple.
Mm-hmm. They're a power couple in Marvel. So it's a little disappointing we only got to see them be together for like very brief. But I guess that's what these shows do. They latch more onto their own supporting cast, and
So at the end of Luke Cage season 2, is Luke and Claire still together?
I think they broke up at the start of
Okay, because I assumed if the shows were continuing still successful, he would have ended up with Jessica. I feel like that was probably part of their plan.
I know they had some chemistry still in Defenders. They had a bit of oh yeah, we met. That happened, and we're not going to talk about it for too long.
I was saying, like, one of my favorite like adult jokes in Jessica Jones is when they're going at it in terms of the horizontal tango.
And they break the bed.
And they break the bed, but then they just keep going.
Yeah.
They're like, we'll deal with it later.
Actually, come to think of it, that reminds me about come Eternals, when everyone was saying how, like, well, Marvel's so conservative about sex, we never seen, like, superhero sex in their movies. I totally forgot about Jessica Jones. That was, like, the big scene. I'm like, oh, yeah. That show wasn't shy about that at all. Marvel's done this.
No, she doesn't hook up with Malcolm. Triss hooks up with Malcolm. Is it just Luke Cage she hooks up with in season 1? I swear there was another dude. I could be wrong.
In season 1, yeah, I think it was just Luke.
I
think she hooks up with at least one guy a season. Some of them were just one-offs. Others were more long-term. She kind of had a thing with the superintendent of her building too, if I remember. Later on, I think that was like season 2. Yeah,
season 2 or 3. Yeah.
Yeah, that was way later.
Oh well.
But
anyway, get it, girl.
What about Jerry Hogarth? Never liked her either.
She was a bit annoying. But she played the annoying character well.
She was fine this year. In Jessica Jones season 1, she played her part well, but then she kept coming back in the Netflix things, and she just got more annoying the more I saw of her. I'm like,
But I can't hate on her because of The Matrix.
Oh no, yeah. What's
funny enough? I saw this before The Matrix, so I was like, oh, that's who you are.
What is her name? Carrie-Anne Moss. Carrie-Anne Moss, great performer. Just the character was like, yeah, I don't know if you wrote her to be infuriating. But she plays it to a T. Yeah. I don't know if you wrote her to be that infuriating or if it's just how I see it. But anyway, I really like Malcolm, though.
I would say yes. Yeah, Malcolm got better.
Malcolm, he was he had an interesting trajectory over this show. He was like in season 1, he was just the junkie that Jessica had took pity on, and then she trained him as a PI, and then he like got his act cleaned up, became a full-on investigator in his own right, and he had a really he had the best upward trajectory of anybody, really.
Yeah, so, for sure.
Yeah, Malcolm was good. So then we get to
one episode before we move on. One episode that stands out from Jessica Jones is when she is investigating something, but it's ultimately just to lead up like a trap for her by these normal people, because those normal people blame superheroes for what happened in the incident. And she has this whole speech where it's like, you're mad at me because I'm different. If I wanted to kill you, I could snap your fucking neck right now. She goes on this whole speech, and I think it's really well done monologue from Kristen Ritter.
And then she snaps a guy's neck at the end.
Well, wasn't the guy she was yelling at before, but
I'm just saying maybe foreshadowing.
Also, I said this
I could snap your neck.
The hero killing the villain at the end of the season, ballsy. I'll give it to them, ballsy. That's where the peak ended, but
no, look, I think to me the difference is Wilson Fisk is such a integral villain. Like, him and Daredevil are one of the best hero villain arch nemesis in all of comics history. You weren't gonna kill off Wilson. Like, I was so prepared for them to kill off Wilson Fisk in season 1, like literally every Marvel project had done before that. And when they didn't, and that he was going to last till season 2, that put me over the moon with Daredevil season 1. Because I knew we were going to keep getting that arch nemesis thing going on. Jessica Jones.
Are you excited to see him in Echo?
This version of him? Look, I'll take more Vincent D'Onofrio. I hope it might be good. I'm not excited. I hope it's good, though. But my point was, the fact that they kept him alive, great. Kilgrave here, he needed to die, I think, for this story to have any sense of closure. I'll forgive the fact that he didn't stay on as an arch nemesis because Jessica needed this chapter of her life closed before she could move on, and she wasn't going to get that with him just in prison. And of course, it sent her on a dark downward spiral because she took another life, even though it was one who deserved it. You know, she still felt guilty about that afterwards, if I remember. So that's, so, it was it wrapped up in a nice little bow. So then we get Daredevil Season 2. And Daredevil Season 2 is a weird one because you got to split it into two halves.
Don't you dare.
You got to split it into two halves here. There's the Punisher half, and then there's the half with Elektra in the hand.
Both are great.
I didn't love the hand stuff as much. Like, don't get me wrong, it's still way better than most superhero TV out there.
But I thought you were about to go to talk shit about the Punisher half, and I was about to lose it.
No. Who do you think I am, Justin?
I don't. You got hot takes. You got hot takes. No. This time I'm pretty in the pocket. The hand was the weaker half of the season. Mm-hmm. The Punisher. I will say though, the hand stuff I think is a little weaker, but Elektra and Matt are really good.
Electric, yes. Those two are very good on screen together. They had to pivot away from the Karen romance just to.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's the thing, right? Karen's the good girl who's good for Matt, who reminds him of the girl next door. Yeah, reminds him of what he could be. She's the hard-hitting journalist with a heart of gold who looks out for the little guy and really respects justice by day, whereas Elektra is like vengeance by night, kill everybody, feed into your darkest impulses kind of person. And he likes that. He likes unleashing the devil with her a little bit.
Yeah.
He just gets a little antsy when it starts going too far. It's like, damn it, you want me to kill people? I can't do that. But like, I am so attracted to you, and you're like, we're so good together in a specific vibe, but like, I can't keep going with you.
I love how they introduced Elektra because Matt comes back from this amazing date from Karen, kisses her in the rain, all that. He's feeling great. And then he's like just chilling on his couch. And then he notices her presence, picks up a knife, is like, who the fuck is there? She's like, hello, Matthew. I just thought, I was like, wow, that's great. Like, at his peak happiness, he's like, she just comes back. And it was like, fuck's sakes, what do you want?
Oh. But he knows he's going to get, he also knows right then and there he's going to get sucked back in.
Yeah.
It was hard enough for him to walk away from her the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I just watched this clip the other day, but the first time he walked away from her was when they broke into this guy's house. When they were about to kill, yeah. Yeah. And she found the guy who killed Matt's dad and was like, kill him. Do it. He's like, I can't do that. And that was like, no, but kill him. Yeah.
Kill him. Do it.
Let's talk about Elektra was good. But let's talk about the Punisher, John Bernthal. Holy
my
crap.
Favorite. Daredevil's your favorite. Punisher's my favorite. Daredevil's right there. He's right. Like if this is the Olympics, I would give them both gold. Yeah. And like John Bernthal, one of the most underrated actors in Hollywood right now. He's so freaking good. His introduction to the Marvel Universe is so good. They don't even show his face for the first episode. And at the very end, after he's had this great hand-to-hand combat with Daredevil, just looks at him with the gun in his hand and just goes, bang. End of episode. Oh!
Yes.
So good.
I mean, one of the best scenes for him was the, it comes a little bit later, but his one batch, two batch, penny and dime story.
Oh.
When he's describing the murder of his family, it takes a little bit for you to be like, okay, why am I sympathizing with this guy again? But, yeah, you start to connect to him after a while because you, like Matt and like Karen more specifically, start to see that he's not just this ruthless killer. He's a killer with a purpose. and a good reason for what he's doing, even if we can't
Yeah.
necessarily get behind that.
Mm-hmm.
But
I love John Bernthal so much. I think his scene in the prison is a highlight of this show, where Fisk is like, "Hey, I need you to kill this one guy or get information from this one guy," and then he tries to dispose of him like he would anybody else, but he just murders everybody in the cell block. It's so good, and oh man, I can't even describe it. It's that good. It's just, you need to go see this.
Well, I love
this
he's
action scene.
He's in the white suit, all the painted bread by the end.
Oh, it's so good. Fuck. What happened to those choreographers? Where are they now? We need you in these movies.
They probably went to work for John Wick or something.
Oh, yeah, fair.
I don't know. I'm just naming like the only good franchise that still has like consistent choreography at this point.
Yeah. Probably that, and then maybe Mission Impossible. Who knows?
Maybe they got hired for Shang-Chi. I doubt it, but
well, I heard the one stunt coordinator who is on Corridor Digital all the time. He was a stunt double for the Punisher, and then he went on to stunt coordinate some of the stuff in Punisher Season 2, which is really cool.
Okay. That's
I think
cool.
he helped coordinate the gym fight scene against the Russians.
Right now I'm just looking at the script for the rooftop scene.
I think his name's Eric. Eric something.
I'm just going to read a bit of this because this is
the rooftop. Yeah, go ahead.
Frank, that's your real name? You get off threatening innocent people? He was only in danger because you squealed, because you can't follow orders. You had a gun on him, you thumbed back the hammer. Yeah, well, that was for you, part of the show. What does that mean? I really have to spell it out for you, Red, huh? I'm disappointed. Listen carefully, okay? You listening, yeah? How about now? Coxcutting. You listening? Feel it? I'm not a bad guy, Red. You want to explain that to the orphans and the widows of the men you killed? For Christ's sake, that's what you think? I'm just some crazy asshole going around unloading on whoever I want to? Yeah, that's exactly what I think. That it? You think you're anything else? I think that the people I kill need killing. That's what I think. You left men hanging from meat hooks. They got off easy, in my opinion. You shot up a hospital. Yeah, nobody got hurt who didn't deserve it. Oh yeah? What about you, Frank? What happens the day someone decides you deserve it? I'll tell you what, they better not miss. Come on, you run around this city like it's your damn shooting gallery. You think you do? Yeah, what do you do? What do? You act like it's a playground. You beat up the bullies with your fists. You throw them in jail, everybody calls you a hero, right? And then a month, a week, a day later, they're back on the streets doing the same goddamn thing. Yeah, so you just put them in the morgue. You're goddamn right I do. You ever doubt yourself, Frank? Not even for a second. Really? Really? You never think for 1 second, shit, I just killed a human being. That's being pretty generous. A human being who did a lot of stupid shit. Maybe even evil, but had one small piece of goodness in him. Maybe just a scrap, Frank, but something. And then you come along, and that one tiny flicker of light gets snuffed out forever. I think you're wrong. Which part? All of it. I think there's no good in the filth I put down. That's what I think. And how do you know? I just know. Look around, Red. This city, it stinks. It's a sewer. It stinks and it smells like shit, and I can't get the stink out of my nose. I think that this world, it needs men that are willing to make the hard call. I think you and me are the same. That's bullshit, Frank, and you know it. I do the one thing you can. You hit them and they get back up. I hit them and they stay down. It's permanent. I make sure that they don't make it out on the street again. I take pride in that. Let me ask you this. What's that? What about hope? Oh, fuck. Come on, Frank, you want to talk about Santa Claus? You want to talk about Santa Claus? I live in the real world too, and I've seen it. Yeah, what have you seen? Redemption, Frank. Jesus Christ. It's real, and it's possible. The people you murder deserve another chance. What, to kill again? Rape again? Is that what you want? No, Frank, to try again. To try. And if you don't get that, there's something broken in you can't fix, and you really are a nut job. I'll leave it there. But
it's so good.
I got so into it just reading it.
Oh, it's such like one of the best just written dialogue scenes anything Marvel's ever produced.
Just that conflict of ideology. Frank Castle, this is the kind of guy who you walk around the street and I see Punisher bumper stickers. You know, you see, a lot of people really believe in the Punisher's ideology. If I put him down, they stay down, right? But
well, he's big in the military too.
Concerningly so, with police and military. I will say that is a controversy out there about how much some people idealize the Punisher. But in the context of this show, fantastic antagonist because he's not really a villain. You 100% get where he's coming from. He's not as monstrous as guys like Fisk because he's only taking out certain people, not innocents. But also, Matt Murdock, you know, he might sound like a bit of a naive optimist here, but he's also got a point. Like, people do need a shot at redemption. People do have chances to change and hope. And Frank Castle, you know, snuffs out that flicker before it can even happen, right? So I love their back and forths here. That season, like that scene, and maybe the one batch, two batch, penny and dime. That's what makes season 2 for me. That's what I remember the most about it. And like the Elektra stuff was good too between him and Matt. But like Daredevil versus the Punisher, that's where the real meat of it is. And it's like all-time great stuff in this genre.
It's phenomenal.
Phenomenal
I can't
actors.
believe Justin's missing out on it.
He couldn't get past episode 5 or 6.
I hate
season
him.
1.
How dare he?
He's just a case study for all the people who gave up on this show because they thought it was too boring. And look, maybe it would be more slow burn, right? There's a reason Netflix released all these at once. They didn't drop them week to week because the show was maybe a little too slow for that. Maybe he was getting through it too slowly. I don't know. But like, if you watch the whole story as a complete package, all the build-up makes more sense by the end.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're an hour in and we're barely scratched the surface.
We gotta fly by this.
Yeah. I care less about the rest anyway. We're starting to get into the mid-tier stuff anyway. Luke Cage season 1.
It was fun.
It was all right. This is the first. This was the first like uh-oh. Not even like uh-oh, but just
well, it was good until they did the thing. When they got rid of Mahershala Ali, like halfway through the season.
Brilliant plot twist though.
Brilliant. But just also like, what the fuck?
It's like, wow, this is so... Oh, wait, and we have half a season to go. That's... Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm
And then they
feeling
introduced... then they introduced Diamondback. And he was a good villain too, but I feel like he deserved a full season. It's just a weird thing for them to... Ballsy for them to do, and I kind of respect it. Of them to be like, hey, we're going to get rid of this one notable villain and then bring in this other villain. But when you're competing against Mahershala Ali... You're like, fuck. I feel like something's missing here because you killed it off.
I did come to enjoy Mariah more as it went as the main villain.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in
Theo Rossi, also in this show.
Oh, yeah. Shades.
Yep, Shades.
Such a cool villain. I don't even really remember a whole lot about him except his look. Just that he wore shades, always kept a cool head. All the time. He was just...
Murders that teenager at the very end. So sad. She was supposed to be a rat or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he was a pretty vicious dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So and Misty,
I like the
really cool
vibe
too.
of Luke Cage. I like how they treated Harlem. How it was more of a community than probably in other shows or TV. How it depicted as like super hood. I mean, there's sketchy places in Harlem, but
I mean, obviously
showed, like,
there's
the bright side to Harlem.
Obviously, there's a lot of crime there, and maybe disproportionately, but it's also a community with a rich history and people in it. Like it's more than just the headlines. There's people who live there and a great culture that's beyond the bad stuff you hear about. And I think Luke Cage, it was a really good PR job for the borough, really. I think it kind of makes you see, okay, there's more moral grays here in life. Harlem's not just one thing. It's like, hey, like there's a lot of really cool stuff here. And
I also liked I liked the actor for Luke Cage. He had this sort of soft spot to him as well, kind of this gentle giant.
Yeah,
yeah.
He was very impressive. Like he played stoic most of the time, but it's not that he lacked a range either. He just he managed to do a lot with a little. He was more of an emotive actor than anything. Like you could tell what he was thinking just based on his eyes. He didn't rage out a lot in season 1, I think, except when they killed Pop.
Oh, Pop. Yeah, that's why. I mean, Luke Cage was great for the first half.
Yeah,
and then it just sort of slowly dialed out. It was like, ooh.
First half, good, but not. First half, good, but not great. Second half of Luke Cage, not bad, not really that good either. But anyway, it's okay. I like what they did with the Judas bullet, the bulletproof man getting hit. Really interesting.
I am your brother.
And they had to bring in Claire again. Always welcome.
Claire.
Once again, the glue that ties this all together. So,
and then we have
the shining crown jewel of the Marvel Netflix. Yeah. Sorry, the shining crown fist of the Iron Fist. Danny Rand.
Oh, this show is so bad.
The immortal Iron Fist, protector of Kunlun, sworn enemy of the Hand. How many times do we have to hear that in this season?
I am the sworn whiner of Kunlun.
You know what?
Christ.
Okay, here's my warm take on this. I didn't hate this season as much as everyone unanimously seemed to. I think it had, on paper, it had some decent... Yeah. Once again, this is one of those retroactive things where I never thought it was, unwatchable even at the time. And then looking at the Marvel we have now, I still feel like they tried harder here than most of the stuff we're getting now.
Yeah.
All right, take a look at something Quantumania and tell me Iron Fist wasn't trying.
Oh, I thought you meant just, if we're going to bring the bottom of the barrel.
Hey,
I thought you just meant TV shows.
Hey, that's the most recent. I don't need to go very far.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But,
no, I hear you.
Yeah, so Iron Fist Season 1, Danny comes back from Kunlun, gets to know Ward and Joy again, kind of weasels his way back into his family business that he doesn't know how to run, and the Hand's involved. And the real hero, Colleen Wing, gets introduced.
Mm-hmm.
And
stuff
happens.
As immortal as the Iron Fist is, he's a pretty shit fighter.
Yeah.
Or at least in this season.
I think that's just because I don't remember if it was because they couldn't get a stunt double for, what's his name?
No, I just mean he loses fights a lot all the time.
Oh, yeah.
He just loses fights all the time. Not saying the actor did terrible.
Oh, I just remember the choreography was pretty criticized at the time, too.
Oh, yeah. It's pretty lackluster.
For being an obvious stunt double and the choreography. And they're Daredevil just came out, this year. What? Are they completely different teams? Is this, the C-listers of the stunt choreography team working on Iron Fist? Where's the coordination here? Because Daredevil was still amazing.
I can't remember the final fight for Iron Fist. Couldn't tell you.
I don't even remember what happened either.
Exactly.
I saw in the recap clip that the bad guy got shot off a roof and then cremated just to make sure he was dead because he was immortal.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
So, yeah, Iron Fist is just... It's there.
Yeah.
It was more interesting on paper than it was in real. And Claire is there as well. At some point, I think.
Claire.
So then we have
the shining light.
So then we have the Defenders continuing.
I just realized Claire is the Phil Coulson of the Netflix TV show.
Interesting comparison. Never heard that one.
Or who shows up a lot in Phase 1.
Or Fury,
I guess.
Just kind of the... Yeah, she's that one that Nick Fury, if you think about it, was really the only one they all knew at some point.
Yeah.
He was the first one to meet everybody, basically. But yeah, we get to the Defenders now, continuing Marvel Netflix's meh streak. You feel the hype in this podcast starting to die out now that we're in the middle.
This show, this is weird because it has 2 great episodes, in my opinion, and then just a lot of mediocre. It's got when they first all meet up in the like hand building, when Daredevil like takes Jessica's scarf, and they all meet up first, and then there's the dinner scene, where it's like the whole episode.
Right.
Those are the only, and then the final battle is just pitch black. It's so dark. You're underground.
Yeah. I remember being very underwhelmed with the Defenders because it took over half the show for the team to actually get together. I'm like, there's only 8 episodes and it took you 4 just to get together. The show, I'm like, look, there's slow burn. I know people use slow burn and boring interchangeably depending on if you like the show or you didn't. But I'm on the bad side of that one because I'm like, it's too long. You took half the show just to get the team together when the draw of the show was to see the team together, mostly.
Yeah.
Our 4 characters finally converging. Hey, good for you. You came up with this whole plot line to make it seem less convoluted that they all got together. But you could have done that in half the time. You probably should have done it by the end of episode 1, to be honest. Maybe 2 if you were being way too generous with your setup. But, yeah, I mean, we got Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah. But then they kind of do the Snoke thing, where they just kill off the main villain. And they're like, no, I'm the villain now.
I thought it was interesting.
The Snoke thing before the Snoke thing. Interesting.
Didn't she have cancer or something? Was her plot line?
So she was one of the immortal, like a hand, but she had cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And she can't heal from it because of how long she's been de-aging herself.
Right. Which is a pretty interesting setup. And of course we get Madame Gao back as well, who she's always been great and she's all these shows. She's kind of one of the recurring...
Is this the one where Stick dies?
Yes. Elektra kills him.
Mm-hmm.
Stick was always an interesting character as well because he's just this old badass who keeps talking about destiny and your time will come. And I always liked how Matt wanted no part of it. He's like, I just want to keep doing the street level hero thing. Can we save this destiny shit for anyone else? I don't want to do it. That's how I always feel.
Because they wanted him to kill and he never wanted to kill.
That's always how I feel when Madam Web shows up in Spider-Man things. I'm like, just stop. I don't want this. Just let him be the street level hero and save this for other people.
Well, they're making a Madam Web movie.
I know, but it's... I don't know what Sony's doing. I don't care.
Sony doesn't know what Sony's doing.
I don't like that side of Spider-Man.
I'll let you know I know what they did recently. They took the Venom script, copy, pasted, and then changed the title to, what's his face? Morbius. That's what they did.
But, didn't have Tom Hardy's charm to carry it?
No. They had Jared Leto's method acting.
Yay. Entertaining.
It's Morbin time. That was a meme for a while.
I don't think he even said that in the movie, did he?
He didn't.
So one of the things I'll say about the Defenders is that Luke Cage and Danny Rand have great chemistry. I remember how good they were together.
Also Matt and Jessica.
Matt and Jessica as well. Matt and everybody. Charlie Cox is just amazing in general. The Charlie Cox love continues. Never will die.
Never.
Never, ever.
Even if he's canceled. Never.
Even if he's canceled, Close Up will still support. I shouldn't make declarations.
You can't cancel a blind man.
See, somebody's going to try to cancel him because a enabled actor played a blind man.
Finish it. Don't even.
That'll be the controversy when Born Again comes out, because all the people who never watched the original will act like this is the first time it's happening in this universe.
Then it's not called acting, people. Anyway.
You know it's going to happen. But Okay, so yeah, Elektra kills Stick and Alexandra. I was just reading up on the plot of this again because I had to remind myself because it was so unmemorable.
Yeah.
But Dragon Bones keep the hand leaders immortal.
Dragon Bones!
And removing the bones will destroy all of New York. Okay.
Sure.
There's ninjas. And a very dark fight, like you said.
Mm.
And I forgot about this, but Misty Knight gets her arm chopped off.
Yes.
Because
that happened in the comic book.
And then I love the ending though when Matt and Elektra died together in the building, just crumbled on them. Which we knew Matt wasn't gonna die, but I also like how that informed his whole arc in
season 3.
So now we have Punisher season 1. Back to you.
Woo!
So
freaking. This is a good one. This is a decent one.
It was solid. This was Marvel Netflix kind of bouncing back for me. I'm like, and the reason I thought it was cool was because I don't think they originally planned to do a Punisher show, but he was just such a beloved supporting character in Daredevil season 2 that the will of the fan base made him get his own show.
Right.
Which somehow ran for 2 seasons. I'm like, oh, wow. This is the power of the fan base. We demanded it. They gave it to us. And it was good. So this one, he uncovers the conspiracy to kill his family, was his best friend who ended up doing it. And the CIA is the one who planned it just to shut him up. And he had to team up with that guy, Micro, to investigate it. And
just real quick, what I like about season 1 of Punisher is that they wrote it in a way where you really don't need to watch anything Marvel related to get Punisher. Right. Like, it doesn't do any callbacks. It doesn't rely on any of the past history. It might mention some of the past events that he did, but if you just wanted to watch Punisher by itself, you could.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. The only thing I really remember about Punisher season 1 is the ending when he's fighting Billy on the carousel and he grinds his face across the glass.
Oh, just like, that's so, like, cringy in the best way.
I couldn't
Where
take
just
that.
like, it's so uncomfortable because it's the sound too. It's like,
that's what all these years later, that's the part I remember more than anything.
And Billy
from this
screams.
season. Yeah. I also remember the investigation being kind of cool, if not a little dragged out as per Marvel Netflix standards, but that's fine. It was still a good story.
Well, the agent too, she did really well. Madani, I liked her dynamic of this. She's kind of, people keep like shutting her down except her partner. Because, I mean, there's a little bit of patriarchy propaganda in there as well. But she's like this no shit given attitude against Castle and will do anything to catch Castle. But I really love the Billy and Frank dynamic as well. And that's two why friends there and how Billy double crosses him.
Yeah. And that's why I was also glad that they kept Billy alive again. Because once again, I think the MCU in general is missing is keeping your antagonists alive for more. To get a rematch. And I think that's one thing Marvel as a brand in general lacks is strong villains most of the time. You look at DC, basically every one of their major heroes has a counter villain or arch nemesis that's arguably just as popular in many cases or as well known to the fan base. You know, Batman's got Joker, Superman's got Lex Luthor, Flash has Reverse Flash, or, you know, the Rogues. Like, everybody's got their thing, really.
Right.
But Marvel, not as much. Daredevil's got Kingpin. Everybody knows that. Spider-Man's got Green Goblin. Fantastic Four have, I don't really know who the Doctor Doom. But, like,
I was about to say, I think there's one major guy.
It took me a sec. For some reason, my mind went to, like, Galactus first. I'm like, nope, I'm thinking too big. I'm like, I know there's one. I'm gonna get screwed.
I am interested to see what they do with him in the MCU.
Galactus?
No, Doctor Doom.
Just don't screw him up and don't make Galactus a fog cloud. Again.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I like about the first Punisher season is his relationship with Micro.
Yes.
I think it's like, again, it's the ideologies conflicting again. And he was just a soldier sent to do a job. And, he's not fond of it, but it's it's also just another art imitating life where a lot of, when they invaded Iraq, it's, a lot of people didn't want to do it, but that was their job, a lot of war crimes, and it's a commentary on that. But
a lot of which we still probably haven't heard about.
Yeah.
Kept under wraps.
And I think Frank, he regrets a lot of it, but he was there to do a job. And I think, again, John Bernthal in this show does amazing. One of my favorite moments, I forgot to mention it, but it's in Daredevil season 2 where he's in the courthouse and Matt walks up to him as Matt Murdock. He's like, "Frank, can I call you Frank?" And he kind of has like a subtle like, "Are you fucking Daredevil?" Like he gives him like a look where he's like, "Yeah, you can call me Frank," because he recognizes it. And the way he plays it is so subtle.
Well, yeah, I guess, that's what he would have called him. Because I think Daredevil always called him Frank.
Mm-hmm.
What did Matt Murdock call him? Did he call it Mr. Castle?
Frank.
Call also him Frank as well?
Yeah.
All right. So Jessica Jones season 2 was Trish investigating into Jessica's powers, and then they find her mom, and her mom is a bad guy.
This is a weird one.
And there was also that plot line with Jerry dying by ALS and going on like a substance abuse binge and getting scammed by these people. And Trish tries to get superpowers and ends up killing Jessica's mother in the end. And,
another giant twist ending, but you're like, what the fuck did I just watch?
The season was just hard to get through. If I remember, it was just boring for most of it. That's really all I gotta say. It wasn't that impressive to me. It had its moments, obviously. Kristen Ritter was the highlight still, but just, I don't know, something was missing this time. It just felt less
I don't know.
Sharply written, like more rushed maybe. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Not as good. But then we get to
It happens.
Then we get to Luke Cage season 2, which
I didn't watch this one.
Honestly,
do you know why I gave up on this show? On this is when I believe it's Bushmaster.
Yeah.
It's his very first scene. He's out on the pier looking over New York City. And I was like, I'm not doing this. I was like, that is the most cliche fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. I was like, I can't do this, man.
That's it. I remember liking season 2 of Luke Cage better than season 1, personally, which I can't even tell you if that's a controversial opinion because not a lot of people watch Luke Cage season 2. Not enough people got that far to have a strong opinion on it. But I thought it was an improvement in many ways. The story was a bit tighter. Bushmaster and Mariah were very interesting. They were two interesting villains because they hated each other. Because her family killed his family. And then she retaliated by killing like innocent people, which Shades didn't like. So then he turned on her. And
I just remember seeing a compilation of Bushmaster going, Mariah Stokes. Just like, because apparently he did that throughout the whole season.
I
just
can't
like correcting
recall.
people. You don't remember that at all?
This was like 6 years ago.
It was a 6-minute compilation.
It wasn't. I said it was an improvement over season 1. I didn't say it was that memorable.
All right.
So Claire breaks up with Luke because of his anger issues. He like punches a wall near her, makes her feel a little threatened. It's like, you need help. And he's like, I don't. I'm fine.
I'm a man.
I just remember the ending of this show, really. Well, so Mariah goes to jail and her daughter kills her.
Oh,
she like gives her a kiss, but apparently like her lips were poisoned. So Mariah gets killed. And in her will, she leaves Luke Cage the nightclub.
Oh.
And the end, the very last scene, in an homage...
I know about the ending.
Yeah, in an homage to The Godfather, Misty Knight is wondering if Luke Cage will be the king of Harlem and take over the gangstership. And he's like, nah, I'm good. But then the door closes on her as he's doing business deals like Michael Corleone. And that's the saddest part to me is that's where we left Luke Cage as a character.
Yeah.
We never...
That's all I know about this season is like that happens. Like, ooh, that would be a very interesting season 3. How do you play that? Do you still stay as Luke Cage or do you have to be the mobster because
now that he's in
of
charge,
the surroundings you're in? Yeah.
Now that he's
or do you
in charge,
try to do the
do?
Boba Fett thing and be like, hey, everybody, let's be good guys now?
I feel like Luke Cage season 3 could have been Boba Fett before Boba Fett did that. I feel like that's what it would have tried to do, but it would have felt...
I hope not.
It would have felt better because he's actually a superhero in this position now. Whereas Boba Fett was like a hardcore gangster, like he was a hardcore bounty hunter before he got that and then just turned good for some reason. I think that's the difference, is that Luke Cage would actually have been more of a moral tug because he's being drawn towards the power and the corruption, but we already know he's a good guy. Whereas Boba Fett never really was. Anyway.
Maybe he got rid of all his negative thoughts in the bacta tank.
That's where he purged it.
Yeah. Have you seen those baths? Apparently they make you 10 years younger.
All right, so then we have Iron Fist Season 2, which I also never watched. This is the only one I never watched, which I kind of feel bad for now because I'm a completionist, and it pisses me off when I've seen all the Marvel Netflix stuff, for better and for worse, and I never got to this one. So I kind of want to get to this one now, if only because I heard it was even better than the first one by a wide margin, actually. So I've heard basically the idea is Davos, who's his best friend, he's jealous that Danny was
the guy from Come On.
Was the Iron Fist and not him. So he tries to steal the power of the Iron Fist. And it sounds like Danny gets sidelined for most of the season for Colleen and Misty Knight to do a team up, which I heard was great anyway. They were doing, I heard Daughters of the Dragon was like their comic series.
Right, yeah.
So they do their team up. Oh yeah, can I skip back a sec? The best episode of Luke Cage Season 2 was the one where he teamed up with Danny Rand, Heroes for Hire. And I hope they...
Oh, he shows up?
Yeah, the best episode of Luke Cage Season 2 was their team up episode, where Danny Rand and Luke Cage just went on a side adventure for one standalone episode, and it was the best one. So I recommend watching that one if you see any of them, because it was kind of standalone, if I remember. So if I remember, Danny's thing in that one is that he considers himself the protector of New York now that Daredevil's dead, allegedly.
Mm-hmm.
So allegedly. He's taking on that role. Anyway, Iron Fist Season 2 apparently ends with Colleen Wing taking up the mantle of the Iron Fist. She gets the power. And Danny Rand just goes on a road trip with his best friend. And that's about it. And I know a lot of people were like, well, yeah, Colleen was the biggest badass anyway. Of course, she deserved the power and to be the hero. Just why are you doing that anyway?
That's so random though, because it's so what is Iron Fist now? He's nobody.
Nobody.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Also, should I address the stupid roundabout controversy of the show of Iron Fist?
Sure. Do it.
Everyone was pissed off when they cast, what's his name again? I just looked at this, sorry. Finn Jones.
Yeah. Oh, they casted a white guy to play Iron Fist, but that's what the character is.
And I'm like, okay, let me get this straight. You woke people want to see a diverse casting of an Asian guy to play Iron Fist doing martial arts. First of all, the immortal Iron Fist is a white business rich kid. So that first thing. Second thing, you're advocating for an Asian to do a martial arts role. I'm like, okay, what's more wrong here? The fact that you just kind of want this arbitrary diversity hire for a character that's not what he was, or even worse, is that you want to stereotype an Asian guy in the martial arts role. I'm like, that's worse, right? The fact that all you so desperately want Danny Rand to be an Asian guy.
I don't know, man. Don't look at me. I didn't say that.
Not you. I'm just saying, like, it's fizzled out years ago, but I always thought that was so dumb. I'm like, you realize that's kind of anti-woke, right? You're clamoring.
I thought there was like a banshee screaming outside my window for a second.
No.
Anyway,
it just kind of ironically anti-woke. You're clamoring so hard for a diversity hire, you don't realize the diversity hire is going to a stereotypical role if it does go through.
Joe, you can't put logic into these situations.
I gotta try. I gotta call out bull where I see it on both sides. I can't attack one side more than the other.
Yeah. But then they'll get offended because they think you're calling them stupid, and then they'll get mad and try to cancel you.
I am calling them stupid
because they are stupid.
Go back to like whatever episode is the one that'll get us canceled. I don't know. We said a lot of stuff in that one.
Oh God, we did.
I'm the one who's got the worst sound bites on that episode. If you pulled me out of context.
Oh, jeez.
Anyway, can we just skip ahead to Daredevil season 3?
Yes, please.
This was
phenomenal.
Just when I thought Marvel Netflix was out, they pulled me back in.
Pull me back in.
This was the best season of any Marvel Netflix show for me.
Yeah.
Just everything.
I have a
worked.
soft spot for season 2, but season 3 is phenomenal.
Mwah.
The rise and fall of Matt Murdock, relationship between him and Karen, Foggy Nelson, Bullseye, who is not treated like a joke, treated like an actual threat. Fisk is back. I mean...
No, Fisk isn't back. The Kingpin is back.
The Kingpin's back.
This is the season he finally becomes the Kingpin. He gets the white suit and everything.
Yeah. The Mama Nun. I mean, just... Oh, man. So good. That final fight. The final speech. Everything about it. The fact the whole season 3 is an allegory of Matt Murdock fighting the Daredevil persona because his suit was stolen from him, and Bullseye is wearing the Daredevil suit. And it's beautiful. He's in
a dark place. He wants to let the devil out. And, his mother, who's a nun, is trying to pull him back to the light. And he's avoiding his friends because he knows they'll just tug him back to the light. He's finally given into that vengeance side of himself. And his whole mission is, I am going to kill Fisk once and for all. End the blight on my city. And just finish it however I can. Lay low while I'm doing it. Everyone's going to talk me out of it. But that's what I'm going to do. And everyone's like, Matt, that's not who you are. You're not a killer can I say Daredevil is maybe one of the only Marvel heroes in the MCU who goes out of his way not to kill people.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is why I like Matt Murdock, because he's the only one who feels like an actual hero. He's, he beats guys to a pulp, but he's got a moral code that's pretty set in stone. Everybody else just kind of seems to go situation by situation in the MCU, but Matt Murdock is, where he stands. And it's a big deal when he says, I'm going to kill Fisk. Mm-hmm. And that's why this is the most stand-up and cheer moment for me in the whole MCU. When he finally gets to the Kingpin's penthouse, starts beating his face in, and he's got him and Vanessa dead to rights, and Matt looks at him, and Fisk is just laughing in his face, and he says, You want me to kill you.
Lets out this primal scream.
And then Wilson says, no prison can keep me. You know that. Come on, kill me. And Matt screams in his face, no! God knows I want to, but you don't get to destroy who I am. You will go back to prison, and you will live the rest of your miserable life in a cage, knowing you'll never have Vanessa, that this city rejected you. It beat you. I beat you. You'll keep my secret, and you won't harm Karen Page or Foggy Nelson or anyone else, because if you do, I will go after your wife, and I will prove Vanessa ordered the murder of Agent Ray Nadeem, and like her husband, she will spend the rest of her life in a cell. Beat him.
So fucking good.
Where's the dialogue like this now? Where's these cathartic moments of, like, And once again, in Jessica Jones,
You didn't like the great dialogue in Quantumania where it was like 7 holes.
That's what
Christ.
that's what we're reduced to now. But
you're not the one with the hammer. Wah wah.
Once again, I get that in Jessica Jones, killing Kilgrave was, that was the cathartic moment for the story. But for Matt Murdock, letting him live was the cathartic moment. Mm-hmm. Not giving in to his dark impulses. Having Wilson Fisk dead to rights. Having every opportunity and capability to kill this man who's done so much wrong to the city, but using his brain instead, letting the light back in, and finally deciding that, no, you don't get to define who I am.
Yeah.
I live by my moral code, and I beat you already, and that's good enough.
And he almost does it too. He's so close to doing it. He puts his hands around his neck, but he just lets out this primal scream. It's so well acted. Charlie Cox, you're fucking incredible!
And he gets all the blood over Fisk's precious white painting that he bought in season 1.
Yeah.
Fisk's blood is just pouring over the white painting. Can I talk about the symbolism? Like the symbolism in cinematography and Daredevil, like the filmmaking of that show is better than most big budget films.
It's a masterclass.
It's a masterclass in cinematography and filmmaking work, and just it's the intentionality of it, like the storytelling, the dialogue, the character work, the cinematography. It does everything as perfectly as you possibly can do it, and somehow it's about costume people beating up criminals in the night still. Like, this is as good as the superhero genre gets. I don't know how, and this is why I'm worried for Born Again. First of all, and I don't think I've ever had this
Born Again, not bored again.
I don't think I've had this rant on air yet, but here we go. The reason I'm worried about Born Again is specifically because of the title. That was my first red flag for this show. Born Again.
You already did it.
Yeah, because any Daredevil fan worth their salt knows that the story of Born Again is basically the story of Daredevil Season 3. So calling it Born Again is basically is the Marvel Studios trying to say, hey, Daredevil fans, look, we are giving you the title of a thing you like. So you should like this show. And I'm like, nope, you just got my backup, because I've already seen Born Again adapted, and they did it fantastic. So this story is not going to be an adaptation of Born Again. You just used the title because you knew it would entice me. Same reason you used the red and yellow suit in She-Hulk, because you thought, oh, we are giving you the suit we think you will like, because Daredevil wore it once for like less than a year, because even the creators knew it was a bad suit. No Daredevil fan likes that suit, and once we got beyond the fact that they adapted the thing, it just feels like pandering. I don't trust what they're doing with Daredevil going forward, because they're just appealing on the iconography that they already adapted better in this show the first time. So, I don't know how the show will be. I hope it's good.
Also, it's supposed to be 18 episodes. Did you hear that?
Yes, I did. I hope it's good. I genuinely do. I think Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox are going to be amazing in it. If it's 18 episodes, I bet there'll be even a lot of solid episodes in there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even mind if they make it a comedy, or like more light in tone, because Daredevil originally was more light in tone. Daredevil's a character that can work in multiple tones, especially if you consider the end of this show. He excised most of his demons already. He's in a lighter place. He can be that lighter superhero version now. I don't mind that if they change the tone up. I just don't want the writing and quality to go down because of that.
Yeah.
Like, don't equate light tone with throwaway, disposable garbage. It can still be good.
I'm so worried.
Me too. Also, a highlight here was Bullseye.
Bullseye's really good. I didn't realize he was Bullseye till the end of the season. I'll be honest with you.
The office fight didn't do it for you?
No, I didn't understand it because I thought I was dumb at the time, and I was like, I need characters to say their villain name for me to know who they're based off of.
Right, right. I thought that was one of the best scenes in the whole season when he's just kicking Matt's ass with office supplies.
Yeah.
Everything in
Very
there
well
is
done.
everything in his
And
hand
the
is a deadly weapon.
it's a personal gripe. It's not a gripe to the show whatsoever. But I really hated that he never donned the Daredevil outfit again. Because
Right.
I just love Matt in it. But it's more on the symbolism as a whole. And it worked towards the season.
I think it's because so many people love the black suit that, well,
Yeah.
it was symbolism. But
I mean,
also
they added it too with the ropes as well. I think the ropes were really cool.
Now, what I thought was an interesting touch, which, I made my own costume here.
Mhm.
The Daredevil Season 1 costume, I believe, was just a black headband. But the Daredevil Season 3 Man in Black costume had this kind of white inlay. It nearly looks like, like a nun's robes.
Right.
And it was just that little bit of white on it that reminds you that even engulfed in all this blackness, there's still a spark of good and light left in Matt Murdock. So symbolically on the costume, it's still telling you that, like, yes, he's engulfed in darkness literally and metaphorically, but that bit of white on the costume that wasn't there before, that's still him holding on.
Yeah.
Through
It's
tailoring.
like Luke's outfit in Return of the Jedi. He's fully in black.
He's got the
embracing
white.
more of the dark side. And then at the end, he's got the more of the lightish white gray thing. Yeah.
Which we don't see, like, he's engulfed in black, and then in the end, we see that the costume is white on the inside. It was there the whole time. We just didn't see it.
You've lost your highness. I'm a Jedi, like my father before me.
So be it. So be it, Jedi.
Cut to the space battle. What? No. Go back.
Go back. Go back.
Go back.
Oh, we got to power through. Punisher Season 2. I could talk about Daredevil Season 3 all day. It's the best.
I know. I love Punisher Season 2.
The whole idea for this episode came because Ryan was watching clips from Punisher Season 2, and I'm like, we got nothing else to talk about, so...
It's just I think it's a great season. Again, it plays off of who Frank Castle is as a person. He at first meets Beth, or this bartender, whatever her fucking name is. I've already forgotten. And he imagines this life with her, but he can never escape his past, and it ends up hurting her in the process, and he has to abandon it. And just those first 2 episodes, I think, is so well done story-wise. But now he becomes kind of this pseudo-parent to this teenage girl because high top men are after her for fratting for information that she knows, and we can all agree Frank hates top people. And Madani's back, I think. Madani's back. Billy Russo's back for a little bit, which I forgot to mention. Billy Russo is Prince Caspian. And if you never made the connection, but and I think Billy's psyche is played so well here as well, where he's completely traumatized from their final fight at the carousel, and he doesn't remember at first, and he's just this tormentor from Frank. And then I love at the end, Frank finally just puts a bullet in him, just says, I'm done. I'm done with you. Just also unceremoniously too. He's just like, you've done enough. And I can't remember,
he showed him mercy at the end of Season 1, and he just came back to cause more trouble.
Does Madani die? I can't remember. She gets pushed out a window, doesn't he?
I don't think she dies. I think she's okay.
I think she's okay. I can't remember. Adrian Madani. Either she gets pushed out a window or someone else pushes her out the window.
It may have been Billy's girlfriend.
That's what it was. It was the psychologist that became the girlfriend. You're completely right.
Yeah. Somebody got pushed out a window. Yes, Punisher Season 2 is mostly just noteworthy for Frank Castle getting a little bit softened. Mm-hmm. He kind of becomes that surrogate father figure again to this girl, and learns killing isn't always the way, like Matt Murdock had been trying to tell him forever, but I mean, he still kills a bunch of guys. But
his final, his speech to her is like, I would do anything for that girl, because he reminds her of his daughter. Yeah. And then how it's kind of like the final fight between him and the preacher guy. And then they kind of just both go on their separate ways, I think, because the preacher guy is who Frank could have been. who
Yeah.
would have been if he stayed with the military, and he's the guy who's too far gone.
That preacher
And
was
then
so
Steve-
cool, though.
He was so cool. He's so threatening. They're both clashing. And then his goodbye to her when she gets on the bus is also just heartbreaking. And then he fully becomes the Punisher at the end.
I love that last shot of the series, though, when he wanders into the warehouse, throws out his machine guns, trench coat, full white skull on there, just starts mowing them down.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's the Punisher.
And then they canceled it.
That was a good ending, though. If you're gonna end the
I
show
know.
like that, that's the perfect shot to end on, really. They're gonna
just
bring
love
him
John
back,
Bernthal.
though. I heard they're bringing him back for Daredevil.
They are.
For Born
They
Again. Which,
I bet they're going
Please-
to do like 3 arcs.
oh no, I hope they don't neuter him for Disney Plus.
Hey
They're
guys, I'm the Punisher. Here's a
What do you-
here's a
what do you do?
lollipop.
I punish people in PG-13 fashion.
You just got punished. Bang.
Like off-screen deaths.
Holy crap.
Hey. Jessica Jones
I
season-
have a feeling that Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio and John Bernthal wouldn't come back unless they saw a good script. I'm holding out on that.
I always
but-
hope that.
Money also talks.
Money talks, and also the fans love them, and they love the characters, and I think they just want to come back and play them, and people want to see them played again.
Mhm.
Like, once again, say what you will about She-Hulk, we definitely have, but Charlie Cox was clearly having fun on that show. And
Oh,
it
yeah.
showed.
No, I'm just
Yeah.
a big fan of legal dramas. That's a good joke.
So Jessica Jones season 3, the final nail in the coffin for the NCU.
I don't remember this
Let
season.
that joke settle. Yeah, nobody does.
This was 13 episodes?
Yes.
What
I
did they
didn't
do?
Until I saw the recap a few hours ago, I didn't remember either. So Trish gets superpowers. She's like agility superpowers.
Right.
And there's this guy who Jessica is dating this season, and he knows that he blackmails people because he can get a sense whether they're bad guys or not. And then he knows there's this serial killer who they start investigating into. And then the serial killer gets Jerry Hogarth to sue Jessica, like, oh, she's harassing me, even though he's a serial killer and she's
I
just
remember the serial
investigating him.
killer thing, yeah. I actually now remember it and kind of liked it.
So then he escapes and kills Trish's mom. And then Trish tries to kill him, but Jessica stops her. And then Trish starts going on this vigilante spree where she accidentally kills a guy, and then she starts becoming a serial killer herself until Jess has to take her down and get her in jail. And then Jess is going to leave town, but she comes back to her PI business. This was a solid last season. I mean, it
Yeah.
wasn't.
It was solid.
It's the one.
And then
I
there was the
remember.
Kilgrave thing at the end.
Yeah, that was like he was kind of calling to her, and then she realized, wait a minute, I can't
No,
let fear
yeah.
rule my life. New
You know what's
York
really
with
funny
all
about
its-
this season? I swear it came out, and then 2 weeks later they said it was canceled.
Yeah,
That was really funny to me. It was like,
You know what?
wow.
I'll give the Netflix shows this though. They left all their characters in a good spot.
Yeah.
Everybody, they all got decent finales for what they were.
I mean, not if you're a Danny Rand fan, but
Danny Rand even had some closure. You know, it wasn't like he was still
Okay.
doing his own thing, from what I heard. But like Jessica Jones kind of got over her thing, and she wasn't letting fear rule her. She stayed in New York, even if all the trauma that was there. Luke Cage got in a weird spot where he's like the mobster, but is he? We don't know. So he could still do some real good. Danny Rand goes on a, road trip of self-discovery. Colleen Wing takes over the Iron Fist. And my favorite of all, Daredevil catches a drink with Foggy and Karen at the bar, and they toast to good times they had. And then we get a post-credit scene with Bullseye, which I don't want to talk about because that just makes me sad. But I'll choose the actual ending.
yeah. He wakes up and his eyeball looks like a bullseye.
Yeah.
or
Because
something like
they
that.
did some surgery on him.
Yeah. Yeah. Even though, like, I know none of it's confirmed, I would love to see Kristen Ritter back. I would love to see Luke Cage back. I mean, I would love to see Colleen Wing back. I don't know if they would do Danny Rand, but I just feel like they kind of got axed in a really unceremonious way, and it's just not really fair. They should have been tied into the cinematic universe, and they weren't.
See, I remember the news. I remember and this is something I'm still bitter about. I remember I was on a trip to New York City, and then while we were there, we were reading the news, and I was like, oh crap, Luke Cage and Iron Fist got canceled? Yeah, that makes sense. Those had pretty low viewership. I'm not that sad about that. Oh crap, Jessica Jones got canceled? And that was either the same, like later that day or just a few days later. Like, oh crap, that's big. Oh, but Daredevil's still fine. It's like, it's the best show. They just put out their best season of the entire show. Like, we're all riding high. Daredevil's the most viewed one, too. It's the flagship. It's one of Netflix's flagship shows. They're okay. Canned. I am livid about that to this day. Even the fact Born Again's coming back doesn't make it better, because it's a different show. They canned the original show in its original run. It's never going to be the same. They're not even bringing the showrunners back. I'm still livid that they canceled this. It's a masterpiece.
It is. It really is.
Yeah, the back half of season 2 with the hand, whatever. It kind of suffers a bit. Maybe season 3 suffers a bit because it relies so heavily on the end of the Defenders. If you don't see the Defenders, it doesn't make a lot of sense for context. Whatever. It's a masterpiece.
You get a Netflix recap, as they do every beginning of the season.
Yeah.
So you're like, you're fine. Yeah.
So, you know what? The NCU, it was good for its time.
Oh,
it had low
Is that
points.
what it's called?
No, that's what I'm calling it. I'm trying to coin that.
Okay.
I've said it multiple times today, but anyways, it had its high points, it had its low points. All of Daredevil was a high point. Most of Iron Fist was a low point.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else somewhere in the middle. But you know what? When it was good, it was great. And when it was bad. But like on the whole, most of them
they
were
took
above
chances.
Average. Yeah,
they
most
took chances,
were above average.
and a lot of it stuck.
And it's kind of funny now. Like I said, it reminded me about like the sex scene in Jessica Jones. When people are like, why doesn't Marvel get more violent? Why don't they include more adult themes and like gratuitous things or violence or like whatever? And then I'm like, wait, do people forget the Netflix stuff exists? It did all this first.
Yeah.
And we're still acting like the new stuff is doing it first. Like, why is that? Just because more people saw it first? Like, yeah, maybe the movies get more exposure, but Marvel was doing this before on pretty high-profile shows.
People don't watch TV.
These were like the flagship shows of Netflix for so long. Daredevil especially. If you remember when Netflix used to have, well, I guess they still do, but they had the like their featured lists of all their Netflix original shows, and Charlie Cox's face was always one of the first ones I saw on that list.
It was that, House of Cards, and like Orange is the New Black.
Yeah, they were very proud of Daredevil at the time, and threw it as much as they could. So, like, I call bull people didn't watch at least that show. Maybe not.
Yeah, exactly.
Not Justin, but like a lot of people.
Fucking Justin.
He's gonna hate me after listening to this one.
Well, he should hate himself. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Justin.
You heard it here. I am gonna hear about this so bad. Sorry to keep throwing you under the bus, Justin. You're just the example for people who don't.
You put yourself in this situation.
Who didn't give these shows a chance early, and you're the reason they got canceled, and why we have to talk about them 6 years later. Because not enough people watched them. Cool. You watched too much Sopranos.
I watched all the Sopranos.
I know, and now you're two in.
Oh no.
So as you can see, we're still bitter about the Netflix universe getting canceled. Yeah. But we hope these characters can still make a good comeback.
When is Daredevil supposed to 2024? Like late 2024?
I think their scripts are done, but production got pushed back because of the writer's strike.
Fuck. Okay.
I think
take your time.
I think they were in production, and then the strike happened,
Okay.
and now they're on hiatus right now.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Because
as long as they're not going forward with it during the strike. Because that's what happened that's how we got 2007 movies.
Yeah. What a year.
Anyways,
if you have no more to say.
Love most of these shows. The misses were high misses, but a lot of them nailed it. So you can find me, Ryan Walker Official, on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. We're streaming Jedi Survivor right now on YouTube, so go ahead, follow that at Ryan Walker Official.
And you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at ThoughtPlay Media. Also, check out the Close Up with Ryan and Joe Facebook page for latest updates on the show. If you listen to us in audio, check out our YouTube channel. And if you're on YouTube, find us anywhere you get your favorite podcasts. Also, Ryan, Justin, and I just finished a short film called A Blue Star Apart, and it'd be fantastic if you could go to the ThoughtPlay Media Facebook and like the trailer we posted there. Be a big help to get us into the film festivals this fall. If you could support that, fantastic. So we hope to see you on the next Close Up with Ryan and Joe. Till next time.
I beat you!
Yeah. Do 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 do. Forgot to talk about the theme song.